how are you? Welcome back to my channel. How are you doing? So today I'm going to do the second interview on speaking to moms with children with unique learning abilities. I hope you enjoyed last week. Before I start, may I say, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and put a notification button so that you remember. Okay. So today I'm speaking to a mom, obviously. She is a mom. She is I love God-fearing people. She's a God-fearing mom, God-fearing wife. She is a speaker. She has a channel on YouTube here. I'll put the link down there. She is a designer. She is, to me, I don't know anything about fashion, but to me, she's a fashionista. She comes up every single time I see her. She's a mom of 3. Can you believe it? She is a mom of 3. I think her husband needs to play another Lobola. But so she's going to be, don't let me say what she's going to be doing. We're going to chat to her now and find out about our child. Okay, let's go. Hi, how are you?
Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much for doing this for me.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. So this is Marcia. Hey, I got it right. This is the first time I'm getting it correct. So I got it right. So tell us a little bit about it. How many kids do you have?
I've got 3 kids.
Okay, she's got 3 kids and she's been married for long. They're not under 5. They're like 3,
14 years.
4 people. 3 people, real people. Okay. So do all your kids have this learning ability?
No, it's just my last one.
Just your last? Oh, it's the last one.
Yes.
Oh, okay. How old was he when you found out that he learns differently?
I think he was officially diagnosed when he was 6. But I think from the time he was about 2 to 3, we started picking up that there was something that was a bit, he was expressing himself differently from the other kids.
Okay.
And then I think from around, because, they keep telling you, kids are usually not the same. They don't grow in the same pace. And of course, we all know that. So we also, gave him time to grow. But I think from the time he was around 3.5 to 4, that's when we realized that actually, I think we need to consult professionals. And then that was a long, tedious process to actually get him to be officially diagnosed.
Last week as well, Patronella told us that our kid also, when she was 6, when he was in grade 1, that was grade 1. Okay. But you obviously, you noticed something before you actually, and what was the final? No, first you said it was tedious. How did you get to the point where, okay, this is what the issue is? Can you tell us that journey?
The symptoms.
Yes.
For a 2-year-old, he could not express himself. He couldn't speak. In fact, at 2.5 to 3, he was still doing a lot of baby sounds, like,
Really?
and then just one word. So if he wanted bread, he'll say, "Mommy, bread."
Oh boy.
So and they kept saying no, and others say no, maybe he's just lazy. And plus, in my family, my brother was a lazy talker. It took a while to speak, and same with my husband's side as well. There's also another younger cousin who also was slow in terms of speech. So there was always that, maybe he'll get there. So we were also a bit relaxed. But I think one of the other things other than just talking is we realized that he couldn't quite understand us. Okay. So we had to say things a bit slower and make like some sort of signs or point to certain things. And when he's really upset, then no words come out at all. So it was more of a language more than the speech as well. So it was a few things,
When you say no words come out as well, I know that people who stammer when they're upset or when they're excited, it's like they can't get, the words are like burning their tongue. They can't get it out fast enough. But for him, he just wasn't talking.
It was for him, you could see he was trying, he was making, he was trying, he was putting in effort. But again, same thing, like a stammer, when he's really upset or really excited, then
that's it.
Yeah, then that's it, So he'll just point and cry, and I could see because he's not a child with like a temper, but I think he would get easily upset and very sensitive. And I think it had to do with the fact that he knew that he couldn't express himself. And
that's frustration, I think.
True.
Yes.
And also it meant socially he didn't want to be around other kids because he knew that it would put pressure on him to express himself.
Okay. Yeah. Did you think, because you said you realized he couldn't also understand you, did you think to maybe have his ears tested?
We did everything. So we went to an audiologist, he went to a pediatric neurologist, and then a speech therapist. We went for play therapy. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
dear.
We went through the whole process just to make sure that they ruled out everything, because the first thing that they suspected was autism.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they ruled it out because he did have some of those symptoms, but then it was ruled out. And then the speech therapist was able to nail it.
Okay. So you think what she said was the correct one? Because I knew a teacher once, and funny enough, how she was able to cope without actually being diagnosed was a bit of a mystery. But the two kids had what did she call it? Asperger's.
Oh yes.
Which I know is also is not as I won't say bad. It's not as serious as autism, but it's still, so it wasn't that.
No, it wasn't. So like I said, that we went through like a stringent process with all the different doctors and practitioners. Yeah. But I think for us, when I realized that it was diagnosed with apraxia, I then went and I started reading up on it. And then I could see like, oh yes, this is what they meant with the symptoms. Even now, like I'm part of the Apraxia family on Twitter and on Instagram. So I do follow them quite a lot just to learn more about it, because it's still a very rare neurological disorder that there's not a lot of information on it, even in terms of the causes. So we still don't know what happened. We don't know whether it's something that's in their DNA or is it caused by trauma. They because it's still so new, there's not a lot of information on it or research on it.
Was the birth normal? Did you have normal? I mean, you've had two before, so you know whether there was anything different. There wasn't anything different.
No, there wasn't anything different. We actually went through that screening process as well. There was not, and what's interesting for him was, which is also the reason why it was a bit difficult to diagnose, was that I think when he was around 1, he could speak, he could express himself, it literally started, I think the shift happened around as he was turning 2.
Okay.
And then something happened. So that's why he also had to go for a lot of just to check for trauma, CT scans and MRI scans and all of that, just to see if there wasn't any trauma that maybe happened that might have caused this. Because everything he was actually thriving as a normal child, and then there was like a bit of
something happened.
Yes, like a shift,
Okay, you're gonna say that name for me slowly, so that I can repeat it properly. Okay, so what is it?
It's either they call it CAS, as in CAS, or they call it Apraxia. So
Apraxia.
Apraxia. So when they say CAS, they're actually saying childhood apraxia. It's childhood apraxia.
Why? Is there an adult one? Is there an adult one?
Yes, there is. There is.
Okay.
So this one is it's in children, and that's where they actually don't know what the cause is in children, but they grow up with it and they don't really outgrow it. It's just they have it for life, but some children are able to better manage it with therapy and occupational therapy as well.
Okay, so what are the symptoms?
So some of the ones that we've mentioned is he's 9, but he cannot express himself at the level of a 9-year-old. So it affects the speech. It affects how he pronounces certain words. They might be simple for you, but for him, he can't. Like a simple one, and I find it cute though. He can't say teeth. He says teeth. So there's certain words where he can't finish them. And so when he goes for speech therapy, they have to actually touch his lips to help him.
For the T8.
Yes. So he does that. And then also, there's certain, And then language, of course, he can't understand at the same level. So you have to keep repeating certain things and maybe even point out. Mm-hmm. So with Apraxia, it's not the same for each child. They also have it at different levels. Mm-hmm. There's kids that wait so bad that they have to do sign language. For him, it's not at that level, but he's also not at the level where you can say he can handle it. But with therapy, he's getting there. With him, I don't know whether it's also part of Apraxia because I've been researching on it, but I haven't found it. But he's very sensitive when it comes to noise. I think that's why they thought he might be.
Oh, is it the one with the earphones all the time?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize to you now. Okay, I just thought you loved music too much. When I say I just think, why do you have your earphones? I am so sorry. See, I'm looking straight at you, not at your mouth. I am so sorry. I apologize. Yes. Oh my word, that's your son. Yes. Okay.
So he protects
he's very
himself.
Sensitive to noise.
Yes.
I have seen that. Seen that because when he's taking it off and they start praise and worship. Yeah, and
he looks like this. In fact, most of his pictures he's like this.
Oh.
So most of the times he just has his headphones on.
And does that help him?
It helps him a lot. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure if it's a noise sensitivity as much as it is just a protection. Just, from, the busyness and the bustle.
Well, it might not be that something is noisy. How do I explain this? It might not be that it's noisy, but there's a lot of it.
Yes.
So it's a lot of it at the same time. And that because like when I see him, the kids are clapping, some are jumping, some are maybe all of that together at the same time. It's just too much. It's just, it's just too much.
It's like a lot of activity. So it becomes too much for him. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So it was the speech. It was, you realizing that he couldn't hear what
he couldn't understand.
So
it was a language barrier. Mm-hmm. And then certain things, because it's a neurological disorder, it also meant to go for OTP. And I don't know how that filters in, but his fine motor skills, so he has supposed to go for occupational therapy to help him with he can't hold a pencil properly.
How is that working now?
I'm teaching him at home, so he's gotten that. I gave up on the tying his shoelaces. I really did. There's certain things that
shoelaces. Even my daughter was asking me, "Mommy, I want to tie it like you, so I don't want to do bunny ears." And I realized that what for me is a simple thing. It's but you need a bit of dexterity to actually be able to tie your shoelace and all that quick movement. No, don't spread. There's Velcro.
Yeah, I don't. When he's got his gown on, I still, because I try and I can see that it's something that he struggles with. And I've realized that he's very sensitive with things that he cannot do. He's very much aware of them and they really affect his self-esteem. So most of the times I don't make him feel like he doesn't know how to do certain things. So those are some of the things. He's quite sensitive.
Yeah, I know that would be there. And like I was saying to Patronella last week, the older they get, they are more aware. When they're younger, it's fine, but they're more aware because this person looks like my age. Why are they doing it? And I can do it. And kids can be cruel.
True.
Whether intentionally or not, the truth is they can be cruel.
And I think most of the times it's unintentional because they don't know and they're asking questions and this child can't really answer, So
that's what we used to say to parents when I was teaching it. Let us know what the issue is. Because if we don't know, you cannot actually address it. So if kids even a teacher can think, why, I'm talking to you, why didn't you answer me? Meanwhile, the problem is not because the child doesn't want to answer. The child doesn't just have the words to express themselves.
True.
Wow.
And with him, he became very antisocial because he knew that the minute you make eye contact, you probably want to talk to me. So I'm going to avoid you. So
he looks down. He's got his earphones. Yeah. And then he's got something in his hand.
And it's like, I think in his mind is like, don't make eye contact. They're not going to talk to you. Don't make eye contact. Yeah.
So what have you resolved to do concerning school?
So with school, we tried the recommended schools for children that have this condition. We couldn't do it too pricey. too pricey for the area that we live in. And the government ones, there was a waiting list and they were far. And so the logistics for us just didn't work. And obviously, you know, you always pray about a solution, and homeschooling became the best solution. And I must say, I'm very happy with it, to a point where, you know, we just actually did it for all the rest of the kids as well. So he is currently homeschooled, but he still has his therapy sessions, every week.
Okay.
On Fridays.
Which curriculum are you following?
We're following the Cambridge. Well, with him, we're not following a particular curriculum.
Okay.
That's what his therapist says, because she's not just a therapist, but she's also a teacher in schools with children that have his learning challenges. So she just said with him for now, especially at his age, is don't follow a particular curriculum because it'll frustrate him. As long as he knows the basics.
Okay.
So that's what we do. As long as you know how to count, to add, subtract, read and write and spell, and however way you want to learn it. So it's centered around him, on what his needs are, what are his strengths and what are his weaknesses. Yeah.
I was actually going to say now that he probably needs more of life skills.
Yes.
Than academic stuff, you know, more of life skills than academic stuff. So you've been on this journey for, from when he was 2 and now he's 9, for about 7 years. Where is he now? Where would you say he is now?
I think he's at that point. One of the things that you mentioned is that as they get older, they become a bit more aware. I think there's a bit of awareness coming in, but at the same time, a bit of his character and personality is beginning to also come out. So I think he's finding his balance, even in the family. He's learning to speak a bit more. He's learning to come out a bit more. One of my friends, my daughter, one of her friends came over for the first time to visit. And usually, like we said, he doesn't make eye contact. He just ignores people. Everything can happen around the house and he just wouldn't be there.
Just put his earphones on and that's it.
Exactly. But this one time she came in and she was smiling. He literally got up and then he went to her and he introduced himself. And then he opened his arms to hug her. And I remember we were all just like, what's going on? You know, and he introduced himself by his name. And I was, you know, we were all just shocked. So he's kind of coming out of his shell. He's learning to express himself a bit more. He's finding his words, except when he's really upset. And he's still stuck in his ways. Oh, I think that's a bit of his personality. He's very systematic.
Yeah.
So he wants the same things over and over. If he's not watching his favorite programs on the laptop, which he thinks it's his laptop, and everybody else has to borrow it from him, he's playing with his Legos and nothing else.
But Lego is good, hey? Lego is amazing. I mean, I grew up on Lego. I don't know how come, but somehow we all had Lego in there. But not the tiny, tiny ones that they make these days. Because now I'm getting my daughter into it as well. And I tried. It took me a while because I kept saying, no, you must play with Lego. And I had Lego and then she didn't want. And then, you know, all these parks that they make. And then she found, I don't know, this Friends. Yes, the Friends one. And now she's totally into it. And she's actually building now without looking at the. And sometimes you go on YouTube to see how to build. And what I find with Lego is it's logical thinking. It's engineering. It's architecture. You know? In fact, I read that. I don't know if it's still the CEO, but the CEO of Lego at one time was actually an architect.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it was actually an architect. Because it's all about construction and things. And how does he cope with that? How does he like his Lego?
He actually builds. He's always building. Sometimes he follows what is on the pack. Most of the times when it's still new. In fact, he tells us what he wants.
Good.
Even for Christmas, he kept saying, "Mommy, I want Lego, Lego Minecraft, what," and he says the whole name. And then when we got them, and before we got him that, he was always on YouTube watching the tutorials. He's like every single day for hours. When it ends, he goes back to the beginning of the video and watches it again. So when he came, he was building, he was done in less than 5 minutes.
Ready.
But now he's building his own structures because he's got a few like collections. So he builds his own thing and he actually loves them.
Yes.
But very possessive. You cannot touch even one. Like he's got a fanny pack that has Legos.
They're just Lego.
Yes.
In a fanny pack, okay.
He sleeps with that fanny pack of Legos. You can't touch them. And then he's got the bigger box where he's got the rest of them. Doesn't care about all
your heart
toys.
Is where your treasure is. Yes. Oh, is it where your treasure is? Where your heart is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, he sleeps with his treasure.
He sleeps with his treasure. Okay. But are you happy with the progress it's been making? Because it takes a lot. I tried to homeschool and I really thought I was going to go homeschool fully next year. I'm still going to do, but maybe part of it. But oh gosh, it was disaster. It takes a lot of a lot of courage to teach your own child, and that's me, a professional teacher. It takes a lot of courage to teach your own child.
True.
You don't look as though you're a firm person, but you must be very firm.
I'm balanced. I'd say I'm very balanced because there's times where I can, say, okay, let's concentrate. But there's times where I just let him be, let him express himself, let him daydream while he's writing. And then I say, okay, and I find creative ways of getting him back into the exercise. So I do try to find that balance. But I'm very happy with his progress, but I can't really say that it was always easy.
No.
Yeah. And there's lots of times where we'll just take breaks in between, especially, or I'd look at the exercise in his textbook and I'm like, let's skip this one. Because sometimes when the emotions are too high for him because something was frustrating him, I have to go to something easier to just build his courage. And then on a new day, then we'll go back to that older chapter that we might have missed and then tackle that, just basing it on how he feels. So, and that's the thing with school is that they don't have time to be teaching you.
Unless it's a private school and they have really small classes, then you can have all of that. There was something that I asked Patrina that was this covered the different tests that you had to do. Was it covered by medical aid?
Not all of them. So let me tell you. So before you actually get the school fees that are telling you that it's 12,000 rands a month. Before we got there was this one test. It was like just a consultation for the pediatric neurologist. It was 2,700 rand.
The consultation?
Yes, just the consultation. So we haven't done anything. We haven't even started with the test.
And just, hello, pleased to meet you.
Yes, yeah. Hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so.
Yeah.
It was 2,700 and the medical aid only paid 500 rand. So and they want you to pay upfront.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yes. So you have to pay upfront, and then you claim back, and the medical aid is like, okay, here's a 500 rand.
When it comes to children,
play therapy was around 800 rand per session, and you're supposed to go weekly. The one that is actually the most affordable, thank God, which is what he needs to go for, is the speech and language and audio. Those therapists, that one is covered. Well, she actually said that she will charge us the medical aid rates.
Okay.
And we were very fortunate because most of them charge outside of the medical aid rates and they want cash. So she said, no, I will bill according to your medical aid scheme rates, and I will actually claim from the medical aid.
Is that the same person you're still using?
Yeah, that's the reason I haven't changed her. We've been with her ever since, and she's so patient. There's times where my son actually misses her and calls us like, "Mommy, I want to go to," and then just says wants to go to her. So.
That's nice. That's nice. I don't know this person, but I see with same thing with teachers. If you work with children, it's like there's a calling. If you've got that calling, I'll call it that. The kids can tell, and that's the beauty of working with children. They can tell whether you're really into them or you're just there as a duty. They can tell the difference.
True.
And once you bond with a child, it makes it easier.
It is.
It makes it easier.
It is.
Okay, so what advice will you give to parents? Again, like I said last week, what I find is some parents want to admit that there is something not there. I don't want to say there's something wrong, but there's something that is not the same
they
as
might need
other.
extra attention
Yes.
or help.
That denial actually doesn't help the child.
True.
It doesn't. It delays what needs to be done.
True.
So what would you say parents need to look for? I know some can be very I would even say aggressive in following, this is the timeline, my child should be doing this, but they say children don't grow the same way.
True.
Children don't grow the same way.
True.
Especially when they're small, they don't grow the same way. But if the child is not eating their, what do we call it now? Their, they don't, okay, now my child is 3, should be walking or should be running or whatever. If the child is not eating all that points at that, when do you need to start growing? What do you think parents should be looking for or looking out for? I don't want to frighten anyone. But I want us to know that these are the things we need to check. You know, it's one thing to say, oh, everybody in the family, they take things easy, they're slow. But at what point do you think, okay, this is not just about being slow?
I think there's something in you as a mom. That's where your intuition or your motherly instincts kick in to say that. I think there's something that's a bit not 100%, but I'm not quite sure what it is. And I would always say that follow that instinct. However, I would not, again, you know, just out of avoiding parents panicking, to be so quick to take a 1-year-old and a 1.5-year-old to the doctor. But if that's what's going to give you peace, then you're welcome to do that. Because unfortunately, even though I do respect our practitioners, you know, it's not all of them that actually truly care about your child's welfare. Some of them are just looking for a quick buck. It's not always the case though. And the ones that truly care, most of the times will actually say, let's wait a bit. You know, some of them will be quick to say, let's do this, let's do that, because they know that they'll be charging a bit more. So I would say follow your instincts, but if there's areas of concern, because you also can't trust Google. There's so many parents that have diagnosed their children.
Google is my doctor,
you know. But at least try and use your instincts more than anything else. But don't follow the route of, like you're saying, my child at this age should be doing 1, 2, 3. But there are certain milestones. Like, for example, if your child has not walked and they're 18 months, you know, so there are certain milestones. Just in between that, you know, I'd say.
And I would like to say also that parents lie about what their kids can do. You know, so if your friend says, oh, my child's already doing this, my child's already doing that. Did you really see the child do that? You know, everybody wants to up their game, you know.
True.
My child is, so you all need to know your child, you know. I think I know someone who is turning 50 this year and apparently has never eaten any solid food. When I say solid, like eat pap, you know, because he never liked it when he was young. So it's all rice and fried plantain, you know, and sweet and sugar. And this is a man. And I didn't realize that. I mean, I don't really like, we call it swallow food. I don't really like stuff like that, but I eat it when I want to, you know. But I mean, it's going to be 50, so it doesn't kill them. No, it's true. I knew a child too when I think they had 2, what do you call that? Frying pans. And one was for fried plantain and one was for fried potato. But that's all the kids ever ate.
Wow.
Every single day. Well, I took them to the doctor. The doctor said they're healthy. So I left it. That child is now married. She's a mom herself. You know? But I would have been so like, you cannot eat chips every day. You know? But they survived it. So one really needs to know one's child.
True.
Okay.
And actually, one of the things that I forgot to mention, which they had asked me during when they're trying to rule out what the problem was, is they asked me if you was not fussy with certain foods because of, I don't know what it is in the mouth where certain textures might actually throw him off. And that was the thing. There were certain textures that he just couldn't.
I'm also like that.
Yeah, that he couldn't. And it had to do with the palate and all of that stuff. But nowadays he's quite relaxed. But I think I would also say to moms, other than just checking the general milestones and your own intuition, if you are going through the journey, maybe you realize that, okay, I need to start this journey of finding what my child might actually need because they might not be developing at the age or level that they should be, is to, again, relax, don't compare them. Don't feel the pressure to compare them to other children. And more than anything else, prepare yourself emotionally and prepare your family, because family can be, I feel like family can be the meanest, because family is like, why are you tying shoelaces? Well, luckily for me, my family was very
but I understand what
and
you're
I
saying.
had to teach them, but it was always a thing of, it's too soft.
And there's always one auntie in the family.
Yes, you know, and I remember we were having a bit of a gathering in my house before he was diagnosed. And one of my brother's friends came and was like, oh, this boy is too soft, because he was doing this again. And I remember and that as a mom, that's where the mom, he never came back to my house again. I never heard anything from him ever again, because I think the way I dealt with him.
You go to somebody's house and then you tell them about their child.
That your child is
in a negative way. It's one thing to say something.
And I'm a very calm. I'm naturally very calm, but I don't know what happened. But all I know is that he never stepped foot in my house again or said anything about my child. But also I've learned to not feel the pressure to explain myself. There was a time where we were actually in church, and it was the old church, and I was tying his shoelaces. And as I was tying them, and the other thing is he's tall. So he doesn't look like a 9-year-old. So I am tying, but I think he was around 7 at that time. So I look like I'm tying a 9 or 10-year-old shoelaces. And this auntie comes to me and says, how? Such a big boy like this, his shoelaces are being tied. I was like, I just shrugged it off, because you don't always want to constantly.
No, you don't even have to.
It's a lot.
I'm like that. I don't have to explain myself to you. Certain people, and you know what the thing is, the people we need to know, they already know.
Yes, the ones that matter.
Yes, that is the word. The ones that matter, they already know. So what's your business? You know?
So all I did was, I was like, if one thing's done, you do it yourself. And I just, because you also don't want to, because now remember, for you, it's a sensitive thing when it comes to your child, but someone else doesn't know. And they might not say it because they're being malicious. They're just saying it in passing. And because, as aunties and moms and grandmothers, we always observe these things like, shouldn't. Because, there are parents that spoil their children, like, shouldn't your child be doing this on their own by now? So they're not always.
Maybe instead of saying that, ladies, we say, you need to teach him how to do his shoelace. Instead of saying, shouldn't your child be? Because you already know that your child should be doing it. So maybe we need to rephrase it or just learn the gift of shut up, The gift of shut up is very necessary.
Pastor Sarah says, drink your water and mind your business.
Oh my word. Just swallow. Just think it to yourself.
But just prepare yourself for the journey, and educate yourself as much as possible. And just, I think for me also, it was not having expectations. It was, let's see what you can bring. Let's see how you develop. Let's see. And also it becomes a beautiful surprise when you see your child come out of their shell, or what they have been for all these years. It becomes, for me, it became beautiful, because I didn't have an expectation. I just let him be and let him thrive and be there to support him, not to say, by now you've done so much of therapy, you should be now.
I think, I do know, not even I think, God is amazing in the way he also places certain children with certain parents. I am not soft. I am not gentle. I want to be. If you know how I can be soft and gentle, send me a message. I'm not soft. I'm not gentle. I'm not patient. Oh my word. Okay, I'm saying all these negative things. I hope my pastor is not watching. But everybody knows me, But I realized that I wouldn't know what to do. Or maybe I'm just saying that. Maybe the child will change me. But I find that parents who are encouraging their children and just thinking, wherever it is you are, we're going to follow you with it. Instead of either not, because either having too high an expectation of all these things that we've been paying money, or the expectation is so low. Not that they don't have any, they actually, but it is so low that there's no attempt to help the child to do anything, And meanwhile, the child actually just needs help, because you could have just said, okay, If that's what it is, that's what it is.
That's what it is.
Yes, and you just leave it, maybe just get in video games and just leave it. Meanwhile, it can be more than that. It just needs the keys, to be that. So we need, again, I know I'm repeating myself now, we need to be there for our child.
True.
We need not to be afraid to hear what the doctors might say, because I don't think doctors are there to harm you. I don't think they're there to make you feel worse. And you don't have to stay with one. You can get a second opinion.
True.
You don't need just one person. You can get a second opinion. You can read. We need to educate ourselves.
True.
I'm going to put links for the group that you are in. If anybody is interested in, I'm going to put links there. We need to educate ourselves, and Google is not a doctor. Okay, Google is not a doctor. I know there is artificial intelligence that are able to diagnose and do this. It's still, Google is not a doctor. You just put
research.
You're just putting in stuff into a machine, and whatever is put in, it's already calculating it. And this is a likely event. I like to say, you went through different. You went to different places. It was a journey before, so it wasn't even a doctor per se that actually said this is the story. It was a speech.
Yes.
So everybody's got their own, what would I call it, specialty. And if we just, it is expensive. I know it is expensive. We'll pray. God will find a way for you to get the money to do it. But we just have to, I think the most thing is to be there for our child. If you think there might not, this is not the way it should be, you really are, you're spot on when you say the mother knows. The mother knows. It's not because one auntie came and said, this. The mother knows. Yes, that's just it. If you sense there might be, watch it.
True. Don't be in denial about it, because it's one of the things that you mentioned is don't be in denial about it. But we're also not saying go looking for symptoms.
No, don't go looking.
But there is something in you that keeps bugging you and just, it's not, sometimes it's not always in your face, but it just
little
things. It just keeps,
And especially if you've had 2 kids, at 2, the speech should be more than this, at 2. And I've seen that thing with parents being in denial. In fact, I'm just thinking of another child now, and you could tell this child is 5, and the speech is like, no, this is not just being slow to speak. Just look for, and just admit if it's a question of money, I cannot afford speech therapy. But what I know with these, well, at least those that I've met, they give you exercises to do at home.
Yes.
So if you can't go once every week, say, what can I do with the child at home? Don't leave everything in the hands of the specialist. There are things you can do at home with your child. You also have to put in that effort.
True.
You cannot expect someone else to love something as much, something that belongs to you. You want someone else to love it as much as you do. It's not going to happen. True. So you need to put in your own 120%. Let the speech therapists do what they can do. And if the child sees that you're involved, I'm saying this again, I know I said last week, but when the child sees that you're involved in their life, in what concerns them,
and you're making efforts,
then they know that, okay, I might not do it like my brother or like my sister or like the people in my family, but I'm still special. And that's why I said it's unique learning abilities. Not that they cannot learn, you just got to find how does this child learn, and then we teach them that way.
And if I may just add, there's a couple of things that you've mentioned. One, you said that, you're a parent who is strict. I used to be that parent. With my 2, I was very strict.
They've taken the brunt of it. Don't worry.
Yes, I was very strict. But I think when he came, there was something in me that also had to shift. And I think that's also the power of your maternal instincts, is that it shifts something in your character to be able to accommodate and help this being that is here. Something in you shifts to make sure that you're able to be there for them as much as possible. So I can tell you now. And some of the other things that also shifted, shifting the house. And so part of what we had to do in terms of adjusting was because he needed to help speak one language, because you can't confuse it with 2 languages in the house if the issue is actually languages. So you can't be set in your ways to say that this is how we raise our children. So it also meant that now we had to speak English in the house, and he understands English. The others are, bilingual. Again, it also meant I didn't have to explain myself to anybody else to say, why is this child only
And that's a big thing in South Africa.
It is. It's a big thing in South Africa. And I got to a point where I just had to, not feel the need to explain myself. But also the third thing that I also wanted to touch on is there was a point where we felt that the fees that we had to pay for all these different practitioners were a bit steep. And we used Google for that to find places and practitioners that were either a bit cheaper or ones that were government-based. But I think with the grace of God, we found practitioners that would say that, we'll accommodate you according to your medical aid. But there are places and institutions that you can go to that can actually help you if you can't afford. So your child, you should not leave your child as they are simply because of financial issues, because there are places. They might take longer. You might have to swallow your pride a bit more. You might have to prepare yourself mentally because, sometimes with our government institutions, but not all of them are like that. But just brace yourself and you know that you're doing it for your child. And once you know what to do, you are empowered to help them, because like you mentioned, the longer you take, then the harder it is for them to actually find ways of coping and being empowered to be the best of themselves.
So Google can be your friend.
Yes.
It's not your doctor, but it can be your friend. Yeah. We just have to, and I think, these days there's just so many, even an overload, I will say, of information that you can get on the internet. You just have to, and like something, you just have to go and research. You have to be willing to do this for your child. And there was something else Patronella mentioned last week. Well, she said Facebook. I don't know about Facebook, but she said, put it out. I won't say necessarily Facebook, but put it out to people that you can trust. You don't want, because there's also the fear that they're going to start talking behind your back. But I think one can look for groups or, okay, this is, what can I do? Where can I find help? And sometimes the help is not even expensive, or sometimes it's free.
True.
You just have to know where to go. When I was looking into homeschooling, there are groups on Facebook. There are groups on Facebook. Some I was like, this is not what I want to do. But there are other groups where they are very helpful. There are those who come there. I don't know why they're there, but there are those where I'm on a group now on Facebook for Cambridge homeschooling, and this particular one I like because I think it's the admin. That's the admin person. She's very strict. You can't come in and say, oh no, Marcia doesn't know what she's talking about. And she'll correct it immediately, like, no, this is this. Yes, and I like that. You're like, no. You can say, oh, I don't use pencil, I only use pen. And, no, it's okay. If that child is more comfortable with the pencil, then the child is more comfortable with the pencil. So it's been interesting. Thank you. From the day I read about this, you made a post on Instagram. I wanted to do this. I wanted to film it. So, I'm going to put all the links. I'm going to get as many links as possible from her. I'm going to put all the links on the description, so you can go there if you need help, if you just want to know more. And we might even be able to help a family member, a friend's child or something. And next week, I'm hoping to bring someone who is an educator and whose child also is got unique learning abilities. And I'll see you next week. Don't forget, subscribe,